Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in the Philippines to attend the 31st ASEAN Summit. There was a gala dinner that was held where all the global leaders, in fact, met. Prime Minister Modi met with U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines. Modi is there on a three-day visit to the Philippines in the face of growing extremism and terrorism. He's also likely to discuss the issue of radicalization with other ASEAN leaders and economic issues, including trade and investment, apparently on the agenda. While the government has called Prime Minister Modi's visit to Manila as a symbol of India's commitment to deepening relations with ASEAN member states and with the Indo-Pacific region in general within the framework of the Act East policy. Prime Minister Modi is also scheduled to have bilateral meets with Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte and meet with U.S. President Donald Trump as well, although it has not officially been announced. Well, sources say that Modi will make a big pitch for investments at the ASEAN business meeting. Prime Minister Modi is visiting Manila at a time when India is gearing up to receive top leaders of all the 10 ASEAN countries for a special ASEAN-India summit in New Delhi. That's set to be held in January to celebrate 25 years of the Indo-ASEAN partnerships. All right, let's go straight to WION's correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran joining us now live from Manila on the very latest. Ramesh, lots of things to get addressed, lots of topics. Let's firstly set the tone and the mood. How crucial is Modi's visit there in terms of the issues of trade and terrorism?
Well, just first things first, for instance, this is the first ASEAN and East Asia summit where the word Asia-Pacific is going out of currency and in its place is taking the term Indo-Pacific, and the word is self-explanatory. But that said, the very fact that the U.S. and its allies in the ASEAN and East Asia summits have endorsed or begun using the term Indo-Pacific, to my mind, signals an intent on the part of the U.S. to make India play a more influential role in the Indo-Pacific region, which is the confluence of two oceans, Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. That said, Prime Minister Modi landed in Manila this evening, but before that, the stage was set already when the officials from India, the U.S., Australia and Japan met for the first time in more than a decade in what is known as the Quadrilateral Initiative. That is a combination of all the four countries who have come together to, in a bid to contain or to confront China's so-called peaceful rise in the Indo-Pacific region. Therefore, the meetings here over the next couple of days, including bilaterals between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump of the U.S., Prime Ministers Abe and Turnbull, and a host of other world leaders, will be significant in that respect.
Yeah, quadrilateral meeting of those countries, U.S., Japan, India, of course, is going to play a very crucial role there in terms of dealing with China. In addition to China, North Korea is certainly also a crucial topic point, especially as part of Trump's 12-day five-nation tour. How likely is Trump going to use this platform in sort of getting what he wants and dealing with Kim Jong-un?
Absolutely, without doubt, Archis, all these regional issues which are contemporary in nature, including but not limited to the North Korean nuclear crisis, can be expected to be very firmly on the agenda of the talks here in Manila. That said, from India's perspective, India will also be looking forward to hearing from other countries in the ASEAN and East Asia about their commitment and position on the issue of counter-terrorism, which is an immediate concern to countries in South Asia, including India. Besides that, one can expect discussions to center around the situation obtaining in the South China Sea, for instance, which is the scene of maritime disputes concerning at least 6 countries, including China, which have overlapping claims on their maritime boundary in the South China Sea. And the ASEAN countries, the 10 ASEAN members, are looking for a binding code of conduct that will be applicable to all 10 ASEAN countries and China, which in a way is expected to allow the situation to stabilize in the South China Sea. So these issues, North Korean crisis, South China Sea and counterterrorism, can be expected to be among the key issues to be deliberated upon here in Manila over the next couple of days.
All right, Ramesh Ramachandran, certainly there on the ground getting us the very latest from the situation there. Of course, we'll keep tracking with you and get you more developments as they come in. But meanwhile, staying in the region, we also wanted to get some perspective on what it is like there in terms of the Indian connection. Ramesh earlier on spoke to the Indian ambassador to the Philippines, Jaideep Mazumdar, in an exclusive interview. Let's listen in to part of Ramesh's conversation.
Ambassador Majumdar, everybody back home is curious to know who all will Prime Minister Modi be meeting here for a bilateral or a pull aside. So if you can also speak a little bit about his bilaterals with leaders such as President Trump and other world leaders here.
Of course, he will have a substantive bilateral meeting with his host, President Duterte of the Philippines. And this is going to be in the nature of a full bilateral meeting. A number of agreements are also expected to be signed during that. Apart from that, he will have engagements with both ASEAN leaders and with East Asia Summit leaders who are not members of ASEAN, that is. And these are all being worked out.
Ambassador Majumdar, there's a lot of buzz about this so-called quadrilateral meeting at the level of officials, which we are given to understand might take place here in Manila over the next couple of days. Could you give us a sense of how this meeting has come about and what can we expect from this particular meeting between India, Japan, the US and Australia?
This is a work in progress and it's still not yet final when and where they will meet, and if it happens, you'll get to hear about it.
And also talking about India-ASEAN relationship, Ambassador, ASEAN is turning 50. India has had a 25-year-old relationship with engagement with ASEAN. So what can we expect going forward in this relationship at the economic level, political, security dialogue? If you could give us a flavor of that as well.
Sure. If you see ASEAN, it is really our very close extended neighborhood. We share maritime boundaries with 3 of the ASEAN member states. If you take Indonesia, the easternmost point and southernmost point of India is just about 100 nautical miles from the westernmost point of Indonesia. So that way we are very much part of this region, and therefore we have not only historical and civilizational links, but in the present times we have extended our Look East policy to an Act East policy. We have a very thriving diaspora in many of these countries. We have very close economic and commercial links. We have defense links with many of these countries, and we have great people-to-people interaction. So going ahead from there, celebrating the 25th anniversary of our dialogue partnership with ASEAN and 25 years of India-ASEAN relations, you will see a major boost in both our economic engagement, our political engagement, and our people-to-people engagement with this region, which is really the growth focus in the years to come. Both South and Southeast Asia and East Asia will be the growth centers of the world. So it's an attempt to carry that forward.
And in conclusion, Ambassador, the word Asia-Pacific seems to be going out of currency and Indo-Pacific is taking its place. So what might this imply for India and the region at large?
In a way, it is only logical to look at this area as a continuum, because economic interests, strategic interests, they are all interlinked between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, and they cannot be two discrete areas. We have a lot of interests in the Western Pacific in terms of our trade and our engagement with all these countries, and therefore it is quite logical to look at this region and the security and safety of this region and maritime freedom of this region as a continuum.
On that note, Ambassador, thank you so much for speaking to WION. You were listening to Ambassador Jagdeep Majumdar, India's ambassador to the Philippines, talking about the past, present and future trajectory of India-ASEAN relations. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran for WION in Manila.